Hi, Mark. Good to present with you again.
As always, it is Rodney, and I think we've got some interesting topics for today.
Yeah, we've given a number of presentations that have focused on our asset Caldera, but not much on ourselves. And as Warren Buffett says, you want management that is competent and honest, but honesty is more important than competency because competent management that are dishonest will rob shareholders blind. And then specific to the resource industry, you also need management that can raise money and have skin in the game. And the main source for shareholders to get this sort of information is through the grapevine. And I can say that before agreeing to join Discovery Harbour, I did my grapevine search and the company passed in terms of its honesty and candidness, and I'm happy to be a part of it. But let's just first talk about honesty. So rather than simply asking you, are you an honest guy, which I'm sure you are, maybe it's best just to provide some background on yourself and specifically in areas where it's you've demonstrated honesty and placing shareholders' interest first.
And that's the right way to go about it. Some particular examples, I think, go more to the point than simply talking. And first off, I've been in this business since 1996. I was with Rio Tinto for a period of time and then some junior companies. So I've become very comfortable doing business with a variety of people, and they're comfortable doing business with me. And that speaks to all my business dealings since 1986. So quite a lengthy period of time. For some specific examples, I'd like to start with my Rio Tinto days. Through the better part of the 1990s, my key role at Rio Tinto was to manage and support the property deals with junior companies that we had that were driven by the Ekati Diamond discovery. At the time, I recall we had something like 1 million acres under joint venture and option agreements with a variety of junior companies. So I think the numerous agreements and the fair dealings, the work we did with those junior companies, which resulted in the Diavik Diamond discovery for Rio Tinto, of course, speak to that period of time that I think went very well for myself personally, but also for Rio Tinto and those companies we dealt with on a regular basis. Subsequent to Rio Tinto, I worked with a number of different junior resource companies, but the one I'd like to highlight here with respect to honesty is the time I was the president and CEO of Geodex Minerals. We had a large tungsten moly deposit in New Brunswick called Sisson. We eventually dealt that to the Hunter Dickinson Group, and for that we received shares in one of their companies. Rather than keeping those shares and gradually selling them, as some companies have done in the past, to pay management salaries and G&A, we made the decision to dividend those shares directly out to the shareholders of Geodex. We felt that was a fair way to go. They can make their decisions what they wanted to do with those shares. So I think that speaks to how I do my business, and I try and be above board and honest at all times, of course. Now, as far as honesty goes, I think another aspect, of course, is management compensation, and we've talked about that in the past. With respect to that, it's very important for me that we put the shareholders first. And Discovery Harbour has not always had a lot of money in the treasury, so at various times as president and CEO, I agreed to work for nothing with the understanding that if and when the company had adequate resources, the board of directors would consider a bonus for myself. And that was a good way to make sure that the treasury was kept in decent shape when times were tough. So I did that because I thought it was the right thing to do for the shareholders. And then I guess one other point there is that options are one of the avenues to compensate management. Companies can put out to, typically in Discovery Harbour is one of them, can issue up to 10% of the capital in options. At this point in time, Discovery Harbour has issued less than 6% to a wide variety of the people involved in the company because we all merit some compensation, not just myself. So we distribute those around to the various people. So I think all those points point to I think how we deal with compensation, which is a factor of the honesty that's important as well. Rodney, we've talked about this before. I think it's appropriate to ask you for some of your views on this at the same time.
Yeah, so, well, in my view, I think we agree that you pay for the person, not the job, and not to pay for a job title alone. And then you have to pay people enough so that they're not under financial stress, but again, not so much that they're not motivated to perform. So there should be an inclusion of bonuses to incentivize for performance, which is how we've tried to structure it here. Then with smaller companies, like ourselves in particular, I think that management overall compensation should be respect to the overall market cap and cash position of the company. So the smaller the company, the smaller the salaries, obviously.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so you put me on the spot. Let's go back to you.
Okay.
Let's go to competency of management now. It's
Okay.
not your first rodeo.
No, and I've had the good fortune to be involved with a number of different successes. I mentioned Diavik already at Rio Tinto, also the Geodex system deposit. Two of the others were True North up in Alaska, as well as the Willow Creek metallurgical coal mine. So I've talked about Diavik and Sisson, so I'd like to just talk about some things that happened at True North and also Willow Creek. So True North was a gold deposit up near the Fort Knox gold mine in Fairbanks, Alaska. And after I left Rio Tinto, I joined a company called Retico that owned that deposit. We did some work on it. At some point, we decided that we'd maximize what could be found on that. So we went to the people at Fort Knox management there. We already had built a relationship with them. We made sure they were apprised with what we were doing. We talked to them about their deposit, and they needed some high-grade feed for their Fort Knox gold mine. So we worked out a friendly takeover of Retico by them to the benefit of the shareholders. And that, I think, was done at a very opportune time because that was the late 1990s, 1999, in fact. And the gold price at the time was less than $300 an ounce. So in hindsight, very good thing to have done for the shareholders. And I think it shows that we made the right decision for the shareholders of what to do at that time. The other one I mentioned was Willow Creek. That's a company called Pine Valley Coal. You know that well, Rodden, because Solomon Partners was one of the brokerages that jumped into that at the right time. When I joined Pine Valley Coal, it was a coal deposit that had been known for some time. We looked at in fact, really myself at the time, it was a very small company, looked at what needed to be done. We redid the feasibility study, did a trial cargo, got the permits in place with the local First Nations as well as the communities, got all the permits in place. And so when the coal price did improve from where it was and had been for some time, we were all set to finance that project, and we did in fact finance it all the way into production, built the mine, and it was producing nice quality coal to ship to the Asian market. So that was a nice, certainly a success for myself, and it was recognized by myself receiving the E.A. Schultz Award for mine development. So
yeah,
nice success.
That's how Terry knew you. So I did my background check with Terry.
That's correct, yes. That's where I first met Terry.
Of the deal at the time, that was good.
Yeah, and I think as you've mentioned, Terry's a shareholder of Discovery Harbour as well. So good to keep those relationships for a long period of time. It does show what I think honesty as well as the competent nature of what we're trying to accomplish here. I think the other thing that I should like to mention is not all things are successful. Some things do fail, and you have to learn from your failures as well. Now, I'd left Pine Valley Coal, and it was in pretty good shape. The mine was operating fine at the time. But as time goes on, things changed, and the coal market did weaken. Unfortunately, Pine Valley Coal had not put enough money in place. They had the opportunity. They didn't do so. So when things got weak in the coal market, they weren't well financed. They, in the end, were taken over by, at a fire sale price, in my view, by Western Canadian Coal. A few years later, Western Canadian Coal was taken over by another company for $3.3 billion. So a lesson learned from that, you have to manage the treasury carefully. You have to make sure you're well capitalized and recognize that things will not always be rosy for any company. And we certainly take care of Discovery Harbour in that fashion as well.
You can control the treasury, but you can't control the commodities.
Absolutely. Yes, yeah.
What about some other notable lessons you may have learned?
Well, late luck always plays a part, and we can't ignore that. But that being noted, perseverance is a key factor. I think that anybody in the exploration business will say you need to keep trying, you need to keep going at whatever your focus is. You can't just give up quickly. I think we've done that certainly at Discovery Harbour. It's been went public in 2013. We've acquired, drilled, explored a number of different properties. Caldera we've had since 2016. We've been working on it, advancing it. We're now on the verge of getting the drill permit and carrying out that drill program. So perseverance, I would say, is another thing that's a key factor for any successful exploration company. I think as well, I guess I'd like to point out that no company is a one-man band. Certainly I appreciate the support, the well-diversified strength of the management and the board we have at us at Discovery Harbour. Yourself being one of them, of course, Rodney, we appreciate the fact that you came on and joined the company about a year ago now, a little bit over a year ago. You've got very strong capital market experience. You were an analyst at Solomon Partners, and that insight's been very helpful at times. And so we'd like to point out to the people here that we will be doing a Zoom call to focus on yourself very shortly. So I'll just leave that at that where it is right now. We will go into more detail about that fairly shortly. Other key people involved, the board of directors, Richard Gilliam, mining entrepreneur. He's been with the company since it began in 2013 when it went public, and he's been a key factor. He's the largest shareholder of the company, owning 16% of the shares. Andrew Henschrick, he's got a good legal background, and he gives us good insight into the legal aspects as we deal with those on an as needed basis. And then Jason Kubitz, the other director, again, very strong in the financial market side of things. All these contribute to a well-diversified, strong board, and we get their advice on a regular basis. But also be very remiss if I did not mention the two key technical consultants, Mark Backness and Alan Morris. And Mark is an excellent geologist. He's the one who went down there, did the mapping for us, identified the 33 targets, categorized them, ranked them, and was instrumental in picking the 10 sites we're permitting for the drill program as well. Alan Morris, based in Nevada, I've known Alan for many years again, and he'll be the one running the project for us when the drill gets underway. He's worked in Nevada for many years, knows all the people down there, and that leads me to my final point in that respect, that we bring in the Nevada consultants, the Nevada contractors, the local people, because they know how to do things properly, they know the area, and we made sure that we did that to make sure this drill program that we're ready to undertake is done very effectively. So as you can see, we've got a very good team to steer this company to where it is today and through the drill program that's coming up very shortly as well.
And does management have skin in the game?
You bet we do. Yes, and that when I left Rio Tinto, that was important to me to make sure I have skin in any junior company I'm involved with. That's what it's all about, making sure that you're aligned with the shareholders. And I think it's all public information. There's no secrets here. You look at what we own, it's all publicly disclosed. And in the last financing, Rodney and I, you and I both participated to a material degree. So yes, we definitely have skin in the game and for all the management of this company.
Great. Well, I think that just about covers it and gives our shareholders a good understanding of the management and who they put their trust in. And of course, you and I wouldn't be here, and the team wouldn't be here if we didn't believe in the Caldera property. So we're looking forward to a discovery.
I'm looking forward to that drill program. We've been working towards that for some time. We're just on the verge of undertaking that drill program. So thank you, Rodney.
Okay. We'll see everyone soon.
Okay.